There is a feeling that arrives before you can even name it. Heat rising in your face. The urge to look away, to disappear, to become smaller than you are. We call it shame, and most of us spend our whole lives trying to avoid it. Hiding the parts of ourselves we think are unacceptable, performing for approval, flinching at the memory of being seen at our worst. But what if shame is not a flaw in your wiring? What if it is one of the oldest survival systems the human mind ever built? Older than guilt, older than language, older than anything we would recognize as morality. Today we ask, when did ancient humans first feel shame? And why did a feeling this painful become so essential to being human? Let's start by separating shame from its closest relative. We've talked before about guilt, the feeling of having done something wrong. Shame is different. Guilt says, I did a bad thing. Shame says, I am a bad thing. Guilt points at an action. Shame points at the self. And that distinction changes everything about how the feeling behaves. Guilt motivates repair. You can apologize, give back, make amends. But shame doesn't want repair. Shame wants to vanish. It is the only emotion whose primary instinct is self-erasure, to look away, to cover the face, to leave the room, to not exist in that moment. That is a strange thing for evolution to build, unless it served a purpose so important that even this much suffering was worth the cost. To understand that purpose, picture a hunter-gatherer band of perhaps 30 people 70,000 years ago. There is no police force, no law, no safety net beyond the people sitting around your fire. If that group decides you are no longer welcome, if they quietly stop sharing meat with you, stop including you in the hunt, stop sitting close at night, you do not lose a friendship. You lose your odds of surviving the season. Exclusion, for most of human history, was a death sentence. Slow, certain, and silent. This is the foundation of what psychologists call the sociometer theory, developed by researcher Mark Leary. The idea is simple but radical. Self-esteem is not really about how you feel about yourself in isolation. It is a gauge, constantly, unconsciously reading your value in the eyes of the group. And shame is what that gauge feels like when it drops into the red. Shame, in this view, is not really about wrongdoing at all. It is a relationship instrument. It exists to answer one question, every moment of every day. Am I still wanted here? When the answer is no, or even maybe not, shame floods the body before the conscious mind even understands why. Look at what shame actually does physically, and the design becomes obvious. The blush, the drop of the eyes, the collapse of the shoulders, the chin tucking toward the chest, the entire body folding inward, taking up less space. This is not random. This is the universal human posture of submission, nearly identical to what we see in other social primates when a lower-ranking individual signals to a group, I am not a threat. Do not exclude me. Let me stay. Researcher June Tangney, who has spent decades studying the difference between shame and guilt, found something remarkable. Shame is felt in the body almost identically to physical pain. Brain imaging research by Naomi Eisenberger and colleagues later confirmed it directly. Social rejection activates the same neural regions as a broken bone. Your ancestors' brains did not distinguish between being excluded and being injured. To the nervous system, they were the same emergency. This is where shame's deep age becomes visible. The blush response, involuntary, impossible to fake, impossible to suppress, appears to be one of the oldest social signals in the human repertoire. Charles Darwin himself called it, quote, the most peculiar and most human of all expressions. No other animal blushes. Why would evolution build a signal you cannot control? Because that is exactly the point. A display you can fake is worthless to a group trying to judge sincerity. The blush works because it is honest. It tells the band, this person knows they have crossed a line. They feel it. You can trust that they feel it, because they cannot hide it even if they tried. In small ancestral groups, that honesty was priceless. It allowed shame to function as a public bond of trust, proof that an individual's internal compass was still calibrated to the group's values, even without external punishment. There is indirect evidence for shame's deep history scattered across the archaeological and ethnographic record. Anthropologists studying surviving hunter-gatherer societies have documented something almost universal: rituals of public reintegration. Ceremonies where a person who broke a social rule is not simply punished and discarded, but deliberately, visibly welcomed back. marked, touched, seated again at the fire. This single detail tells us something profound. If shame's purpose was only to punish, exile would be permanent. But the existence of reintegration rituals across cultures separated by oceans and tens of thousands of years suggests something else. Shame and belonging were always meant to be a cycle, not a sentence. Fall short, feel the burn of exposure, and then, through ritual, through visible forgiveness, be folded back into the group. That cycle, researchers like sociologist Thomas Sheff have argued, may be one of the load-bearing structures of human social bonding itself. But shame, like guilt, has a shadow. And ancient humans almost certainly knew it as intimately as we do. When shame becomes chronic, when it stops being a temporary signal and becomes a permanent verdict on the self, something breaks. Psychiatrist James Gilligan, after decades studying violence, made an observation that should unsettle anyone who thinks of shame as simply moral conscience. Chronic, unrelieved shame is one of the most reliable predictors of human violence. Not guilt, shame. Because when a person comes to believe, at the deepest level, that they are fundamentally unworthy and they see no path back to belonging, the nervous system does not stay in the collapsed, submissive posture forever. Cornered long enough, it flips. Submission becomes rage. The same system that evolved to keep you close to the group can, when it finds no way home, drive you to destroy the thing that rejected you. This is the razor's edge ancient humans walked, a feeling necessary for cohesion, capable of curdling into the very violence it was meant to prevent, which is exactly why the rituals mattered so much. A band without a pathway back from shame was a band sitting on a powder keg. The ceremonies of forgiveness were not softness. They were survival infrastructure, every bit as essential as fire or shelter. There is something almost unbearably tender hiding inside this whole mechanism, if you sit with it. Shame only has power over you because some part of you still believes you matter to others. The animal that has truly given up on belonging does not blush. It does not look away. It has nothing left to protect. To feel shame, in other words, is proof that you have not stopped caring what your tribe thinks of you. Proof that connection still means something to you, even in the moment you most want to disappear. Imagine one of your ancestors, 60,000 years ago, having broken a promise to their group, taken food meant for someone else, perhaps, or failed in a hunt they swore they could carry. They sit at the edge of the firelight that night, not in its center. Their face hot, their eyes down. No one says a word. No one needs to. And then, maybe the next morning, maybe after a full turn of the moon, someone touches their shoulder, hands them food first, looks them in the eye, and holds the gaze instead of looking away. In that small, wordless gesture, an entire species' survival strategy plays out again. The burn of exposure, followed by the relief of return. We still feel both of those things today, in offices and dinner tables and difficult phone calls, with the same ancient machinery our ancestors carried around fires we will never see. The goal was never to eliminate shame. The goal, the same one your ancestors were quietly pursuing every time they welcomed someone back to the circle, is to make sure shame never travels alone. That exposure is always followed, eventually, by return. Because a tribe that knew how to bring people back was a tribe built to last. And that is why you are here. If this exploration meant something to you, subscribe, and join us next time as we ask another question about who we were before we had the words for it. When did ancient humans first learn to lie?